everybody. Welcome back to Freight Executive Insights. I'm Mike Vincent. I am not the freight executive, and nor do I have any insights, but I try and get it out of people like my very good friend and long friend, Bob Poulos. And Bob, we were just talking about how you're so active on LinkedIn with everything that you've got like a title on there that's I think from the 70s or something like that. I don't know when I don't know what it's from, but
yeah.
Bob,
I just fact checked that to find that you are accurate. That I updated it, but I didn't update my my lead page. So, anyways,
right.
Yeah.
So you are president now at American Logistics Incorporated. That is the correct and true current title. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. You also have like the long-standing title of the Happy Greek, right? I may have coined that. Did I coin that?
I think you did. Yeah.
I think I might have.
I think there's a restaurant in Pittsburgh called the Happy Greek. So
that sounds great. I bet they got amazing gyros there, right?
Yeah. What's that?
They have amazing gyros there, I would imagine.
That's right. Yeah. Good pronunciation. Very good.
Hey, well, I learned that when I was, in my early 20s, buying them from street vendors in the flats in Cleveland after a night of drinking very responsibly.
Sounds about accurate. Yeah.
People don't know that there's a heavy Greek and Slovak community in Cleveland.
Big time. Huge. Yeah. Huge for both. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Pittsburgh as well. You either buy pierogies or gyros. That's what you're getting.
That's it. Yeah. I love it.
But hey, yeah. So hey, we're talking freight, dude. Freight Executive Insights, and I met you. You were just leaving Panther and going to US Xpress, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that was up in Chicago.
Correct.
And I actually rented out your office that you were still occupying.
That's right.
To the guy who was like the first supplier of turf to Topgolf.
That's right.
Yeah. And I tell people that story and they look at me like, yeah, okay, you're telling a fish tale, but that's true.
Right. Yeah. 2007, 2008, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. You're like, where's my office? I said, oh, sorry, I rented it out.
Sorry, I rented it out. Yeah.
You're like, well, that's all right. I'm going to US Xpress in Chattanooga anyways.
Yeah. The rest is history.
The rest is history. So give us a background. How did freight why should we be listening to you other than you're a very, very a good person and a good friend?
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this for a minute, like you said, at a fairly high level, and I've done it in a bunch of different industry segments. So you mentioned Panther. I've spent a good chunk of my career in the expedited marketplace, and then then a good chunk in the traditional truckload markets,
right?
Dry van, refrigerated, and open deck, which is kind of where I am now. And then obviously all those years when you and I worked together at US Xpress, where I think we got a taste of a lot of different modes and different circumstances, and you and I hopefully we'll never have to relive this. But what we went through in 2008 with the recession, that's no doubt. That's a learning experience right there.
It really was, and I was at XGS really, thankfully, in like a 2.5 years into a very, very urgent need to diversify our freight because we were heavy, as you know. In home building and commercial building, right? At XGS with floor covering. And had we just stayed there, we'd have been toast.
Right.
In 2008, we'd have been done. Housing market, if anybody remembers, was not good.
Oh, not good at all. And I think we're heading into some turbulent times, and what that means to the transportation market might not be as bad as for the rest of the economy, only because we've been in a 20-month recession already.
Yeah,
and I think you asked why why anyone should listen to what I have to say. And
Right.
I guess the answer is, I've just been doing it for a long time, and not that I have a crystal ball. It's just I've been through so many cycles, dozens of macro and micro cycles in the industry, that you just learn how to navigate them. And we've been in this downturn for now 19, 20 months, something like that, where we've had negative growth, or imbalanced markets, in the transportation market, specifically truckload. And I think, though the economy appears that it may be slowing, there's pressure on the banking industry, interest rates. We know what's happening with inventory levels. So I think, though the economy may be heading into a slowdown and possibly a recession, don't know if that's going to necessarily be the case for the transportation industry, only because um, supply has continued to be taken out of the marketplace, and I think we'll be at that point of equilibrium at some point in the near future. And it's been tough. I mean, I stay very connected to others in the industry, and it's pretty hard to find a success story out there in this market. I mean, look at all the most recent earnings calls for the publicly traded companies. I mean, it's been a tough go at it.
It
Everyone's
has.
struggling, and I'm very fortunate here. So with American Logistics, we've retooled this company into an agent based platform, and we really started that initiative last year in the fourth quarter. And even though it's still fairly early days in our model, we've had very good success. So we've essentially gone from 2 agents to 15 agents, and we've been able to grow the business profitably in a short amount of time. So and we're small, so
Yeah.
small changes yield big results. So we've kind of bucked the trend, but there's
Is that
no
in?
doubt
Is that
about it.
in?
It's tough right now.
Yeah. So was that in reaction to the market change coming off of the boom markets of in transportation during the during COVID, et cetera? Is that a
Yeah,
reaction to that as
yeah,
a defense mechanism or a way of growth through a down market?
I think it's part that, and I think it's part that my partner and I, Mark Kramer, identified early on that there's a large and growing market segment of talent that wants to be independent in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So we just see a long term trend where individuals have entrepreneurial spirit, yet don't want to take the plunge into owning their own business. So
Yeah, it's like an
it,
entrepreneurship with a safety net, right? And
exactly, yeah,
yeah, and I would say that that's a reaction to the COVID markets as well, right? I mean, the work from home gave people who weren't entrepreneurs and even weren't during that time a kind of a sense of it, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, now that I work from home, I can get like 2 days worth of work done in one day.
right,
I actually am way more productive at home than in a business setting, than in an office setting,
right, right,
and
yeah,
I because I have control of it, right? I
that's
mean,
right. Yeah,
it's
you don't have
insane.
Todd Davis showing up at your office like
Oh,
coffee
let's not talk
machine.
about Todd. Todd's a good guy, man. Come on, man.
He's the first one that came to mind. Sorry.
And it's a good one because shout out to Todd Davis. I love
Yeah.
Todd Davis. He's awesome, and we did a lot of good work together actually at Freightways. I love
Yeah.
Todd. He's still there doing good work.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, so speaking of freight waves, I don't know, 2 weekends ago, glanced down at my phone, article, 400, 1,400 expected brokerage layoffs in the month of May.
Yeah,
Um, I look at that. I think the industry cringes. I look at that not as an opportunity for our business. So a lot of the people being laid off are more senior, higher payroll people, W-2 employees that have been with a lot of the larger brokers for many years. They have a wealth of experience,
Right.
and I see that as an opportunity to for a percentage of those employees, displaced employees, to enter the agency business and jump onto an established platform and tech stack. And you mentioned working from home, so the majority of our agents are home based. Some have offices, but most
Hmm.
are home based. And with the technology in our tech stack, or the technology available in the market, they can be highly, highly productive. And I'll just give
Right.
a couple of examples. When you and I started in this business, a cradle to grave agent, would do about 1.5 million in revenue, and the wheels would start to wobble, right? It would
Yeah.
become overwhelming. And then as we've improved technology and become more efficient and automated, and through API integrations, that number has increased. I would say 5 years ago to about 2.5 million. Well, today it's not uncommon for a seasoned, efficient cradle to grave operator to do 4, 5, $6 million
That's
in
amazing growth and
throughput.
capacity.
Yeah,
That's amazing growth and
yeah. So
capacity.
that's where I see it going. Honestly, that's with AI and just automation improvements. I see where a single operator can sit in a room very similar to the one that you're sitting in right now, and with uh, three monitors can do $6 million in
Are you
revenue.
are you looking at my office? Do you have another camera into my office? Because I've
I'm just trying to figure out what all the tchotchkes are in the back. I
well,
see
it's
beer
mostly
bottles. I see.
well, it's Duff beer. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, it is Duff beer.
yeah.
It's Alvies or Alvis.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so Alvis they had a Maker's Mark giveaway, and I have a
nice.
Alvis Maker's Mark whiskey up there. The rest of it is like Hobbit uh, stuff from the Hobbit. Sasquatch. I'm a
I
big
was going to say, I see Sasquatch. Who are the bobbleheads?
those. That's me and my wife.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, that it's actually a custom job that she had done for our anniversary one year, a couple of years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh,
It's
that's
funny
funny.
because like for months she was like taking pictures like 360, all the way around his top of my head, all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff, and asking me to do it for her. So I'm like, what the hell is she doing? She's up to something. And then these bobbleheads came in. Yeah, custom
Uh,
bobbleheads. Yeah, no, and I mean this is and my guitars and stuff. So I'm a pretend musician as
that's
well.
right. I remember.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It is. So let me ask you. Let me ask you this. It's an interesting background for the podcasts, right? I do a lot of podcasts, so I have
Mhm.
little because people that ask like you. Uh, I love watching. One of these days, one of these people are going to find Sasquatch, and I'm going to be the one watching the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someday
It'll probably be in East Tennessee too.
yeah,
Right.
it's the one that's part of the squatchiest part of the nation's probably right here, and out in your neck of
Yeah.
Chattanooga, I
Yeah.
think is where
Probably.
it is. Really,
Probably.
it probably is. So, you mentioned a couple things about and really the increase in productivity or the increase in the efficiency of the broker due to the expansion in technology, et cetera, and
Hmm.
the tech stacks, et cetera, right? And that's really capacity of brokers as well, right? So, I mean, it's just like if you had back at US Xpress, if you had a 53 footer, if you could run 106 footers, then you doubled your capacity, right? Right.
Right.
So we've essentially, if you have X number of brokers and you still have X number, but their productivity is fourfold or fivefold, like you were describing, you've quintupled your
Hmm.
capacity of brokers, but which is interesting in itself. But when you look at the dynamics of this down market and how long it's been taking for capacity, specifically truckload capacity, okay, and I'm going somewhere with this to exit the market. there's a couple dynamics there, and I'd like to get your take if you have one on it. One is the bad notes that were written by banks on way too expensive equipment, and they don't want to own equipment. So
Right.
it's really cheap right now for those people to keep running those trucks because they're just paying interest.
Hmm.
Right. And in some
Right.
cases, they ain't paying nothing. They're just
Right.
keeping them moving. Right. So there's one. There's one dynamic. But the other is the little brokers, and I don't mean, the smaller brokers. You self-described you guys as smaller brokers. There was a time back in our day when you'd be the first one out in a market like this,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Not anymore, and it's due to that technology. No,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
how does that dynamic kind of play out? I mean, you wouldn't have a prayer of starting this up in 2008
Right.
because
Well,
US Express would be 6 months, 7 months after the fact before they felt the hurt after the small guys were already toast and in the bread lines, right?
sure. Well, oddly enough, it's interesting you bring this up because we were just talking about this the other day internally. Oddly enough, I think in a weird way, the small broker that has a fresh tech stack. I'll preface with that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe has a competitive advantage over larger, more established companies. Let me give an example.
Hmm.
We track a metric we track internally is our SG&A expense by load. So our SG&A expense is anything after our commission expense and after our carrier pay expense. So
Okay.
it's our light bill, it's our payroll, it's our insurance, it's everything below that line and above the interest expense line. So it's our cost, right? So it's essentially what is our cost to book a load. And we've been able to drive that number down, to below $35 a load. Whereas a lot of our competitors, have a much higher number, and we've been able to do that because we have a very streamlined process, and honestly, to run the volume that we're running today, I could even double the volume without really adding staff and drive that number down further. Another
Hmm.
metric is revenue per full-time employee. I mean, we hover around 5.7 million per full-time employee. I was looking at one of the publicly traded agent-based companies. I won't name their name. And
Mm-hmm.
they're around 3.5 million. So here, my little company is almost twice as productive from a back office perspective as
Mm-hmm.
the largest, most established company in the space.
Is
So
that due to size or tech? I mean, you're implying
it's
that it's tech,
tech.
right?
I mean, I
It's
think I
totally
think
tech.
I think it's tech, and it's
Okay.
just allowed us to be more efficient with fewer people, and uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's where I see it going. So, listen, we'll one day we have this black box type of highly automated, robotic, end to end, order to cash automation process
Yeah.
with in the industry. Yes, I mean I think that's coming, but I think long before we get there, with autonomous vehicles and everything, I think we're going to step our way there through just continued automation. And
Yeah.
there I think there's just a great opportunity in the market for an individual that wants to have a life changing experience from a pay perspective to enter into an agency role with a book of business and be highly efficient. So that it'll
Yeah.
go there before it goes anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, well, I recall conversations you and I had in the 2000 teens about gray fleets, right?
Hmm.
And how that would
Hmm.
eventually happen, and it probably will. It just takes
Probably will.
it's gonna
Yeah.
take some it's gonna take, and we've kind of seen that a little bit with the power only type of brokerage and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? I mean, you see these, Freight Vana does that type of stuff, and others where they have their trailers out there, and
Right.
they're just yeah. So that's kind of a step towards that.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's a first step kind of towards that type of technology. But do you see with your tech stack and that development? like you say, and you take it to its extreme conclusion, this black box, transaction to cash total automated. Does that do you have that distinct advantage now that people have always discussed? And I've always argued that now you can focus on service. Now you can focus on relationships
Yes,
because you
yes,
have this efficiency.
yes.
Is that that's a key part, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. At least for a certain segment of the market. And our belief is, even though we live in a commoditized world, a percentage of the space that we play in is still high service and requires high service touch. And we play in kind of those niche markets. For instance, I have an agent that does, they specialize in hauling flowers. I have an agent that specializes in hauling chicken thighs. I have an agent that specializes in DOD.
Wait, no
Uh,
drums, no chicken drumstick, no legs,
Really,
just the thighs.
thighs specifically, very
Okay.
specifically
All right.
thighs, and she moves a lot of them.
Wow.
And other kind of niche related food products and or geographically niched, in certain markets where that we have a concentration of capacity. So we really play those niche markets, and I think have strength there. But to answer your question, I think now and for the foreseeable future, there's plenty of room to play in those niche markets.
Yeah. I mean, that's in my business, which I'm doing now, which is logistics, but it's not specifically with trucks, et cetera, right? I'm bringing my logistics, uh, 36 years. My God, Bob, can you imagine, right?
You
We were
started
young once,
you
dude. We
started
were,
when you were 3, right?
well, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. But taking it to recycling, because that is the answer, I believe. Yeah, you need the circular economy, and obviously
Yeah.
that's logistics, right?
Yeah.
And you bring that, but it is niche, very niche related. Are we seeing kind of a transition towards that's the safety net almost? If you can hit niche type of areas and be an expert in so instead of just a general carrier, right? If you have three, four, five different niches that are diverse enough, isn't that the strategy for making it through up and down markets, et cetera?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the more of a generalist you are in the business, I mean, the harder the cycles are going to be, the down cycles in particular. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. So,
Yeah.
you need to have, a percentage of your portfolio, in these niche businesses, and it can't be just one niche because every niche, feels pressure.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, you get destroyed. I mean, that was the problem with XGS, what we were looking at, and
right,
Bose was the president really who came in and said we need to change our diversification,
right.
and not that he had a crystal ball, but he wound up being very right because 3
Hmm.
years after that declaration, boom, the
Yeah,
housing market
yeah,
burst.
yeah.
Yeah, that is the key. Bob, where are people going to get in touch with you and your company, and who should be doing that right now, my friend? Let's leave them with a note
Sure.
on a
I
plug for you and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, I think anyone with industry experience that has a desire for independence, financial and time independence, I think is a target. And my I'll give you my email and my cell phone number. It's email is bpoulos, Poulos amloginc.com, and that's also our URL, amloginc.com. And then, is it safe to give my cell phone number, or will I start getting harassed?
It's if you want to give it out, dude. I mean, I we're talking to 75,000 people a week, so
Sure. For
he only takes calls at 2 a.m. Eastern time. By the way,
Listen, we all know this is a 24/7 business.
yeah,
423-326-7780.
yeah, fantastic. And don't let him kid you, people. It's pronounced Poulos. I declared that in 2007,
Very
I
good
think.
Greek pronunciation.
And there are in fact 17 letters in Poulos.
Listen, a lot of vowels.
A lot of vowels. Bob, thank you so much,
All
my
right,
friend.
Mike.
It's been a
Great
pleasure, man.
seeing you. All right.
Yeah. Hey,
Okay.
thanks everybody for watching Freight Executive Insights. We'll catch you on the next show.